So tomorrow is the Old Luling Fete. It is a one-day outdoor show in Luling, Louisiana. It is its first year, and I met one of the organizers at Destrehan Fall Fest. She seemed really cool. She wants to revitalize Paul Mallard Road as much as possible. I think that's awesome. Growing up in the semi-rural South, a lot of our communities are more just places to sleep than places to do anything or look at anything or learn anything. So any program that supports doing, making, learning, just generally doing stuff in the parish and not going to Metairie, Kenner, or New Orleans to do something, I'm in favor of. Plus, I grew up in Luling, and it's just across the river for me. So setup starts at 7 a.m. Anyone who knows me at all knows that I am absolutely not a morning person. I'm a night owl. And it runs till 7 p.m. The official hours are 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Honestly, 7 to 7 is a really long day to be outside in the weather, so we're not doing that. We're probably going to try to get there at 8:45. The tents are provided. It was a $50 charge for this year, and it is at All Kinds of Finds, which is a local business that has some outdoor space. There is going to be several events throughout the day, from music to a Stella shouting contest to food and wine tasting, so hopefully there will be a reason for people to be coming out, even though it's in its first year. And it seems like they've done a pretty decent job of promoting the event, especially for a first year event. Since there are several realtors involved in organizing this, I would think they would know good promotion and how to promote. So looks like they've been doing a pretty good job of it. So I don't have any real complaints there. My complaint though is it's raining right now and it's outside tomorrow and it's going to be cold. And I know y'all northerners are like, 50 isn't cold. It is when the humidity is really high, it is. Y'all try sitting out all day in 50 when the humidity's 80% and let me know. Get back to me. I've lived in Tennessee where it's not as cold, and I can say that both suck. I don't like the cold. I can deal with the heat, but I can't deal with the cold. So that's something I'm not really excited about. That said, I used to do Cherry Blossom Festival in Nashville, and it was usually equally cold and equally gross outside. So, and I did well most of the years, except for the year it poured during setup and my stuff got all wet and I was just like, whatever, and went home. So this is what I'm bringing tomorrow. It's always a bit of a toss up when it's a one-day show, especially a first year show, how much you want to bring. But since I have the space, we're going to try to bring a lot. I have my prints. I'm bringing both sizes of sign prints. Probably going to bring the wooden charms, although that's a debate because they compete with my acrylic charms, and I sell the acrylic charms for a little bit more, and the acrylic charms require a little bit less work at the show. So kind of on the fence about the wooden charms. I'm bringing the mugs. That's another one that I'm kind of like about because it's a one-day show, and that while it's not a lot of setup, it is a lot of space. I am, of course, bringing the books. I'm bringing 7-inch Kara, Volume 1 and 2. I'm bringing Lilliputian Living, and I'm bringing my coloring book, Curious Little Things. I am thinking about bringing the hand-painted charms. I'm bringing the postcards. I am bringing the stickers, both the paper and the vinyl, and the sticker postcards, and the holographic, and the holographic. I think that is just the holographic. So, and the window clings. And I'm bringing I gotta tell y'all something. I hate that cuckoo clock. It makes recording so hard because usually I have to wait till it's finished going off so that you guys aren't constantly hearing cuckoo clock. I hate that thing. It's mine and I wanted it, but I hate it. Pins and acrylic charms and the paint your state kits. And I actually still don't know where the actual paint your state kits are. After we did the library con, Joseph unpacked everything and I don't feel like digging for things. So I still don't really know where a lot of these things are. If I can't find them, I'm not bringing them. And as I'm looking at this, I'm like, a lot of this is display. So we're going to my mom's for dinner tonight, and I want to try to get everything packed up in boxes before we go, because even though it's just supposed to be for dinner, we always end up over there for way too long. So I have to just count on not necessarily having my evening, but I need to pare this down so that we can get it in my Jetta And oh, also we're bringing like the retail grids and 3 tables and 3 tablecloths. Usually I would bring more vertical display, but we got to get it in the Jetta in one trip, and that's kind of tricky. So anyway, this is what it looks like now. I'll show you guys what it looks like when I've got it boxed up. Okay, so pardon my mess. We're going to my mom's house for dinner. So this is kind of a stopping point for me for right now. I still have some originals that I want to sign and bag. I'm actually going to bring that to her house to do. And I have kind of this Easter egg thing I was going to do, an Easter egg lucky dip, just because, you know, it'd be cute. You spend a certain amount of money, you get a free egg, or egg included with purchase. Every egg is going to have at least something in it, whether it's a sticker. The nicest thing I think in the eggs is, well, it depends on what you're looking for, but I have some ceramic mug tags in there, and I also have some book tags in there. But hopefully people will enjoy that, and it'll be kind of like a cute little festive thing. I also have some, you see those little organza bags? They have wildflower seeds in them for like the American Southeast. They were part of my wedding favors, so that tells you how old they are. They're 3 years old. And since it's spring, I thought that would be cute to include in the eggs as well. So I'm going to bring that with me to Luling as well. So this is a lot of stuff. We also have to get in 3 tables, 1 full length and 2 4-foot tables, as well as retail grids. We don't have to bring a tent. I think I mentioned that, but I don't have any clue what kind of tent they're giving me, and it's supposed to be very windy and cold tomorrow. So if it's a tent that's like my tent, I can use my tent walls, and that's going to help a lot. If it's a tent like at the Andouille Festival, I can't use anything, and I just have to deal with it. And I'm grateful they're providing the tent. That honestly makes things so much easier. I just kind of wish they'd sent the vendors a heads up about what kind of tent they're doing, but it's their first year, so I don't blame them. It's just another thing to kind of keep in mind. So the deal is, if we can't get everything in the car, we're going to get the tables, we're going to get the grid walls, we're going to get like the basic display stuff, and we're going to bring that over tomorrow morning. I'll work on, Joseph will help me with the grid walls, I guess. I mean, I can do them by myself. It's the tables that I have trouble with, but I can work on that while Joseph runs back and gets another load. The joys of having a fairly small car, and doing shows. I have a feeling as I continue to do shows, that's going to be the point where I keep hitting my head. When I did anime cons, I mean, basically what I could fit in a travel suitcase was what I could bring with me, with a few exceptions, so my displays could never get too grand. But now I'm limited to what I can fit in the Jetta and what I'm willing to set up. Now, some of the display is not as important, but I will point out that having a cute tent, an attractive and appealing tent that people want to go to, is a big part of sales. If you're sitting there and everything looks dour and you're looking grumpy, people aren't going to want to talk to you unless that is your brand. I could see maybe like at a tattoo show that might work, or like a horror convention that might work, but generally at like anime cons and craft fairs, looking friendly and approachable helps a lot. car packed. This time we kind of thought maybe we weren't going to be able to get everything in, but we did. I think if we had to pack a tent, that we just wouldn't have happened. We'd have had to borrow my mom's Flex, but we got everything in, and look, I'm not even like, well, you can't really see, I'm not even like cramped in the front. So tomorrow is a really early morning for me, a night person. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. It's almost 8 o'clock in the morning. We are about to head out to set up. It's this windy outside right now. I want to quickly talk to you guys about something. 3 days ago, it was 80 degrees outside. Louisiana has always had a fairly early spring. Usually it's warm this time of year. So when I agreed to a March show, I was thinking we'd be 60s, 70s, sunny, because that's another hallmark of March in Louisiana is you get these brilliant blue days. In fact, our February was warm. This show is basically on the river. Like there's the levee, there's River Road, and then there's where this is going to be at. So it is going to be very cold, feeling very cold, and very windy, and I sell paper goods. So I told Joseph we might just go there and sit under the tent and wait for the wind to die down, because usually early morning, sorry, as the wind blows it like takes my breath away a little bit, early morning, the temperature differentials from the sun coming up and the river makes it really windy out here. So, you know, it's just one of those things that you deal with and you learn to live with. But I'm wearing a lot of layers. I'll show you guys in a minute. I'm probably still going to be really cold because I'm wearing my layers out here and I'm like, oh, it's kind of cold. But we have ways to kind of combat that, and I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. Okay, so I have a cape. It has a hood. I've got a slanket looking thing. I've got hand warmers. I am wearing multiple layers, including leggings and a petticoat and an overdress and an apron. It's still gonna be cold. We also have hand warmers. The kind of tents they have do not work with our tent walls. That's gonna suck. Like, I'm just gonna say that straight out. That's gonna suck. As you guys can see, it's windy. So for an event like this, should you be brave enough to do it, you're gonna want to moisturize your skin before you go, because it's gonna chap the heck out of it. You're gonna want to bring lip balm. You're gonna want to bring hand warmers, whether it's the chemical kind that you can get at like Dollar Tree, or if it's the electric kind that you can recharge, whatever works better for you. I have both. I like the chemical ones because I can put them in my pocket. You get 2 of them, you can put them in your pockets. I think we're probably ready to go and give it our best shot. My worst enemy as someone who sells primarily paper goods, the rain has started. I'll tell you guys a secret. If it's cold, windy, and rainy, no one's going to be shopping, for the most part, at an outdoor show. It is 10:48 and It's about 12 minutes till the show opens. And that's Joseph. And it is very cold. And it is very, very, very windy. And I already spilled my coffee. Super great morning. And the barbecue people are right there. And while I love barbecue, I don't want to smell barbecue for 12 hours with the smoke in my face. So this is not our normal setup by a long run. I was going to do a I'll show you how I do shows video. That's not today because this ain't it. Because we're fighting the wind. So we cannot go tall because anything that goes tall becomes a sail, immediately. We have not done the postcards yet because they are going to catch the wind, and I'm kind of trying to wait for the wind to die down. Joseph would like me to put the postcards up and magnet them in. It's not going to happen yet. I do have the postcard book out though. I know it's not as pretty, but I think I can afford to wait a little while. The thing I don't like the most, there's two things I really don't like of this, is it's so windy, we can't have any of the books actually up because every time I put the books up in their easels, the wind caught it. So everything is flat, and it is so windy that we used mugs to help weight things down because otherwise the wind was going to beat the books up. Also, that's the old side. Let's do the new side. We have to weight down all of our signage, which means we're really limited as to what signage we can put out right now. The wind kept taking my originals, so we had to move them in, and we can't put any art on the grid walls because it gets blown off, even with the really strong neodymium magnets that normally work. I am surprised the stickers haven't just gone all over the place. Kind of impressed by that. I guess as long as things are kind of low, they're fine. Oh, this sign was weighted down and already got knocked over. So it's a learning process. The tents were provided, so our grid walls don't work, our tent walls don't work with them. But next year is going to be way better for sure. All right, so it's about 12. We still have 12 to 7 hours left. Fingers crossed it's not raining anymore. It was drizzling off and on. The sun was out for a bit earlier, which was really nice because I could go stand in the sun and warm up. And now it is overcast again, but that's all right. It's been a little bit slow, but there are people coming. It's just cold and wet and windy, and people don't necessarily want to come to an outdoor thing. Apparently, though, it was sleeting on the other side of the river, so I'm glad we didn't have to deal with that because I just wouldn't have. I just would have been like, no, I can't. Not today. So we still got 7 hours to go, so we will see how today shakes out. But it's a little quieter now, but it's never been super busy. So what is going on? What seems to be the main draw is they're doing food and wine tours. So you see the people carrying around the little cups of food. That's part of the food tour. And I don't really know what's going on with the wine because I don't drink, so I just don't know. Joseph's going to go do the food, and then I guess when he gets back, he's going to get barbecue. Now, you might think being next to a barbecue truck is amazing, and it sure smells nice, but I'm not getting any of the warmth from it, and I'm getting all of the smoke, and it is wreaking havoc on my allergies. So it's also making me really hungry. It's a catch-22. But I just wanted to kind of check in midday. I've done all kinds of outdoor shows before. If you guys watched for a while, y'all might remember me doing Cherry Blossom Festival over the years. And I mean, you're always at the whims of the weather. So that's kind of to be expected. But this is the noontime tour. I think in terms of food, this is going to be the busiest this show is going to be. All right, so Joseph is returning with the food portion of today's event. Oh, we have shrimp and grits, and we have, oh, what is that? That looks really good.
It's
that looks like roast beef.
Yeah,
is that roast beef?
Yeah, roast beef. The sauce is good. Everything's good.
So what's the story about the punch cards?
I think we just have to go to these places and we'll get more food stuff.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Okay, so it's a little past 5, And I guess about an hour and a half ago, it started to get really cold and overcast again. And that's basically when sales started to dry up. So that's one of the downsides of doing an outside show when it's cold, is you're out in the cold. We may need to figure out a solution for tent walls that are more modular rather than just the tent walls that we have that work in our tent but don't necessarily attach to these kinds of tents. I'm going to be sick as a dog because we've been next to the barbecue truck, so I've been breathing in his smoke and his diesel fumes all afternoon. It's been okay though. I'm just really cold, and I wish it ended at 5 instead of 7 because it's cold and you guys can see it's like hardly anybody here, just Joseph.
What?
You don't have anything to say for yourself?
What would I say?
You don't have, you're not going to answer for yourself?
What?
You're not going to answer for your sins?
What are you talking about?
I don't know. I was recording a vlog. Do you have anything to say about today?
The food was great. I mean, if there were more people, it would have been a great show.
And that's the weather. I think 100% that's the weather. So there's not much. They could maybe in the future have done like one of those like, what do they call tents like they do for wedding receptions, and just had us all in that tent.
Sure.
That might have been
I think that's just called like an event tent.
An event tent. Thank you. I'm cold, so my brain doesn't want to work.
Not the only one.
That's fair. Also, I've been breathing in diesel fumes, so I'm sure I'm a few brain cells lighter. Yeah, that could be a solution. At least all of our combined body heat would keep each other. But see, then people wouldn't think this was a thing. You know, they'd think it was like a party or a wedding. Okay, so everyone got permission to break down early. It is 5-something, 5:30. So we are going to do just that. I do think ending at 5 is probably a better fit. I think if the weather had been nicer, it would have been a really good show. But the organizers are nice. The food was good. I mean, don't really have any complaints other than the weather, and what can you really do about the weather? All right, Joseph, do you want to guess how much we sold today?
I don't think I've checked at all, but I'm gonna guess $209.
I think it was 205. So he is so good at guessing. You could tell me 50,
I think I was there
or you
for
could tell
every
me.
sale, so.
Yeah, I think you were actually. Well, good job. So it has been almost a full month since the old Luling Fete. We are just doing super great with keeping up with the backlog. So I released a bunch of convention/craft fair recaps all today. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying them. Hopefully you've been learning from them. This is the final one that I'm going to release today. So let's start out with really talking about the numbers. So Joseph has those on his phone. I want to point out when we started recording, it was gray out. Of course, the sun comes
I
out.
think you said that last time.
Every
Yeah.
time. Can't win. And if I keep looking over in that direction, it's because Bowie is on a leash in the yard. I'll just show you guys while Joseph pulls up the number. So he's hanging out with us. And I'm just keeping an eye on him. Okay, so numbers.
Yeah, so probably a couple days after we did, a couple days after we did the festival, I looked at things. I didn't write down what you revenued because we had talked about that. I
In
think
the
you
car,
already had that recorded.
yeah.
But,
So I'll put that like right here in the middle in between us.
No, I did. So you sold 203 over the 8 hours that the festival was going on. It was over 10 customers. It cost $50 for the table. They fed us, which honestly
both of
was,
us.
Yeah.
And the food was pretty good.
At least $30, I would say, of that 50.
Like, it was not hot dogs. It was real food. All of it was good. We didn't even finish the jambalaya because we got jambalaya is one of those dishes where if you're familiar with beans and rice style dishes, it's kind of like that. It just seems to multiply. It is the ever-growing feast. So even though it was good, we didn't even finish the jambalaya.
So the production cost of the items that we sold was $68. So that means you profited $85. Which was about the same as what you profited for the Destrehan Fall Festival.
From 2022, correct?
Yes.
Which was my better Destrehan Fall Festival. So what I think...
Well, the table cost there, or the
much
booth
higher,
cost is much more
higher,
expensive.
yes. What I thought was surprising is that sales were not steady all day, but sales were pretty decent considering how windy it was, how nasty it was outside, how our tent was literally getting all of the smoke from the smoke person, and I was having an allergic reaction to it the whole time.
I bet you mean the barbecue.
Yeah, the barbecue place, I'm sorry. But he also smoked, too, which is like a twofer. Love it. My dad died of lung cancer from smoking for a million years, so I love cigarette smoke just so much. Sorry, I tangented and then I forgot. But I was surprised that we sold as much as we did considering all of the circumstances. And also, so what I had wanted to do if the weather had been nice but the show had been slow was I was going to walk you guys through my current setup, how I think about things, where I source things, like basically how I do shows. And the weather was so unpleasant that my setup looked nothing like I really wanted it to look. So I didn't really want to show you guys too much of that. But it wasn't as enticing a setup as I would normally like to do and as I'm trying to progress to. So I'm still impressed that we sold as much as we sold. So what was the best seller?
I don't remember.
Oh, shoot, you don't?
I would have to bring up the
Probably
spreadsheet.
coloring books. Coloring books or charms is typically what's been doing very well, which, by the way, I have been updating the Natto shop. So if you like my stuff and you'd like to support a small business and you'd like to own some of the things that I make, whether it's postcards, charms, stickers, coloring books, or comics, you can check them out at nattosoup.com/shop. Since I am a small business, your support really, really helps. One of my goals in the future, and I'm absolutely nowhere close to this, so don't get your hopes up, is to one day begin employing my mom to help me because she's on a limited income, and this would allow me to be able to contribute to her financially in a way that she'd be willing to accept. You know, the female artist life goal is to be able to employ your mom. But that is something that I would like to work towards at some point. So if you like what I do and you're waiting for a sale, I don't put my stuff on sale. It's already priced as low as I can afford to price it. But I do deals. So if you plan on buying a lot of stuff, email me and I will be happy to work something out with you on a person-by-person basis. Trying to buy Joseph some time to pull it up.
Sure. So yeah, you sold, well, I say sold. I think you gave away one, but...
oh yeah, because we were doing the Easter eggs that had it was just because it was right before Easter and it was like a little fun thing. If the weather had been prettier, there might have been more kids there and that might have been a bigger deal, but it was spend $10, right? And you get to pick an egg. Yep. Every egg had a free prize, whether it was a sticker, also up to like coloring books and comic books.
Mm-hmm. So you moved the most of the coloring books, that was 5. You moved two volume 1s, 1 Lilliputian Living, 2 of your mugs. I think that was to the same customer, actually. 9 of your paper stickers, 4 of your vinyl stickers, 1 of your acrylic charms, 1 9x9 print, and 3 11x14 prints.
I think if the weather had been like it is today, and it's overcast today, but it's very temperate, nice weather, sun's out, I think we would have had much more business, because where they're at on River Road gets a lot of traffic, and it's convenient to park on the levee and just walk over. So I think the real stumbling block for the Luling Fete was the weather, which is something they can't entirely control. And we already talked to them about the possibility of like tent walls. That would have helped a lot too. So let's talk about what they did right for the customers.
I think people liked the food. People liked the idea that it was.
So what was the food? What was going on with the food?
It was for local businesses. When I say local, I mean like
on the
hyper
street.
local. Like you can throw a rock and hit most of them.
You keep talking. I'm gonna move Bowie.
They enlisted the local businesses to just supply some type of food. So whether they were doing catering or they cooked it themselves. Becca, what was the upholstery name's business?
Johnny's.
Yeah, Johnny's Upholstery. One of the owners of that, from what I understand, competes in jambalaya festivals, as Becca mentioned.
Jambalaya was really good.
Yeah, so he made some pretty great jambalaya for us. There was a bar Becca probably knows the name of.
Fat Boys.
Yeah, Fat Boys.
From the area.
That did
white beans.
White beans, yeah, with ham.
Birdie's was doing liquor, like a lot of. It wasn't just
basically
food; it was food and alcohol.
Every place had liquor of some kind.
There was also the main where we were at, all kinds of finds, and they had this delicious prime rib
really
crostini and shrimp and grits. They were both so
like
good.
Fancy catering.
Yeah. And I've talked to the one of the founders of the Paul Mallard Business and Arts Initiative. Sorry if I get the acronym wrong. Jenny, she's super duper nice, and she wants to get more businesses involved in the future. Like, they want this to grow, to become a thing, and they've got a game plan. And down in Louisiana, doing anything new, people are going to naysay you and poo-poo you the first 5 years until you're like knocking it out of the park. So having grown up in that, I really kind of resonate with like what Jenny's trying to do, and I want to be as supportive as I can as a very small business owner myself. So like, I'm willing to be patient and encouraging and try to help it grow, because I think what they're trying to do is revitalize this street, Paul Mallard, which is part of Old Luling, and it's just kind of gotten there's just like a lot of empty businesses and not maintained empty lots over the years, so they're trying to revitalize it so people want to shop and do things on Paul Mallard.
I'm betting, so I don't know anything about the history of it, but I'm betting when the interstate system was completed and the bridge,
so there used to be
dramatically changed
trains. Like, there are still trains, but those go to the plants. There used to be passenger trains,
and those would go right by.
Yes,
Paul
and Paul Mallard was a big deal when the trains would go by, because it had two stations or two areas, so it got a lot of foot traffic, and now not really. So
it gets a lot of car traffic
it does
now, though.
It does, but nobody stops. They're just cutting through from Highway 90 to River Road. So their goal is to try and make this a shopping and living area again, and I'm really excited about that, because most people who live in Luling just sleep there. They don't live there. They don't want to pay for playgrounds. They don't want to pay for sidewalks. They don't care. I say this growing up in Luling and being intensely frustrated by it, and dreaming of moving out as soon as I got the chance.
Yeah, this was probably one of the more personal festivals that
yeah. So they also had music, like all day, but it wasn't too loud for us vendors. The way they positioned the live music was on the other side of the building, so we could hear it, but it didn't interfere.
Yeah,
and that
it was more projecting out into traffic, and maybe a bit towards the other side, towards those companies like that, automotive shop and whatnot.
And what else? They had a raffle at the end of the day. So there's room to grow, and we're excited to see it grow. So I want to compare the Old Luling Fete to some of the shows we've done but we didn't table at, because we've also scoped out 3 shows since recording this. The St. Gertrude's Extravaganza, the garden show at Destrehan, and the New Orleans Botanical Garden show. So it's like 3 different sizes of shows, 3 different types of shows. Yeah. So the Extravaganza is hosted by a church. You could not tell, not from the main road, not even from the front of the church, that anything was going on. They didn't have any live music. Everybody was crammed together under this large pavilion. The weather
was behind a long building.
Yeah,
so
you had to walk.
We pulled up, and if I didn't have confidence that it was there, partially because we saw a street sign and partially because I looked up online,
one street sign,
I probably would have just pulled in and left. Because there weren't many
nobody
cars
there to talk about it.
Walking around, no music, and it's just like kind of emptiness and potentially maybe something behind a somewhat sketchy looking building. I mean,
they used to do the gumbo cook-off there.
Yeah.
It used to be a lot nicer before Ida. They're trying to raise money to fix it, but they could have spent some of that money promoting it, having a band.
If they had just put a sign on the building, it would have eliminated any like look of sketchiness or anything.
Anything
it's just
Easter?
Like, what is
they didn't
this?
even have an Easter bunny.
Yeah,
it's an Easter egg
exactly.
extravaganza. There wasn't
Just
an Easter bunny.
Take some construction paper, cut it into eggs, and paste it on
Yeah,
the building.
yeah,
or
poster board
something.
from
That
Dollar
way you
Tree.
know something is happening.
Yeah, you
there.
could have your catechism classes spend some time coloring those while talking about Easter and the significance of Easter eggs. Like, there are ways to make it work, you know, by outsourcing it to small children. So it was free for us to get in, which I thought was a missed opportunity because they're fundraising. So all the funds raised are coming from the people vending. There were more vendors than there were people shopping. They had.
When we went.
We went kind of at a time where people would be out spending money. It was like 2:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
They had people making food, like a barbecue pit and deep fryers mixed in with the crafters, which has to be a fire hazard. And they had the space, maybe not necessarily the cleaned up facilities, but they did have the space to have food vendors in a separate food section. They just chose not to.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of eating areas. There was just so many missed opportunities where they could have been making a little extra money here, a little extra money there, that they just didn't. So we went to see if it would be a good fit. I don't really think so. I think the old Luling Fete is a better fit for me. I'm impressed
Also,
I said those words without smushing them.
You met probably like 6 people who tangentially knew you at the old Luling Fete, and that's just the ones that we talked to for long enough to realize that they probably knew you. Whereas at the Borromeo thing, the likelihood you
Not
would run
Borromeo, St. Gertrude.
Oh,
Borromeo
yes.
has their own thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The St. Gertrude thing. Just got churches on the brain.
Chicken or?
It's unlikely you would. No.
No, that's not unlikely. It would have been people from high school, and re-meeting people from high school is always kind of a anxiety-inducing situation for me. Okay, so next was the Destrehan one. That one was very similar, in my opinion, to the Luling Fete in that the person who is organizing it, because it's the same people who do the Fall Fest, knew what they were doing,
Yeah, so
and they
it's
plan
the
on
same
growing.
Location,
As the Fall Fest, yeah.
but slightly more focused in the vendors.
More on gardens, less on crafts.
Yeah.
The attendees were mostly
and
old
smaller.
people at this one. They had music, they had food, and they had classes. And I really enjoyed going. We went to the native plants talk, and I really enjoyed that. And it was like $5 to get in the door.
And I think there was 2 other classes we would have been interested in going to. So this spanned 2 days. Did the extravaganza span 2 days?
I think it did, but their signage was not good about. This
sure
is important to know.
I'm sure it's on my calendar. If you
Sure.
really
No. I think we should go by like what we remember
can
for this
remember.
because we were attendees, and if
Yeah,
we
the
don't
Spring Festival
know,
definitely ran 2
that's
days.
a bad news. Yeah. And we went on the Sunday, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. And my mom and brother came with us.
Mm-hmm.
And how did we find out about it? I don't 100% remember how we found out.
Your mom.
My mom. Oh yeah, my mom saw an ad for it in the Herald Guide.
Yeah.
So I'm part of a bunch of Louisiana vendor groups on Facebook, and that's how I sometimes find out about shows I've never done. That's how I originally found out about the St. Gertrude's extravaganza. Was they were looking for vendors. I think it was a $25 table fee because I had considered it. And I didn't see anything for the spring garden show, but it was very garden focused. So I think they specifically asked people while they're establishing who do very specifically plant and garden stuff to table this year.
I mean, that was a good show. The food was almost identical to what is at the Fall Fest.
Less, I would say. They had fewer options. Like there's like
fewer.
Nerd Brew at the Fall Fest. They do coffee and delicious coffee chocolates. They weren't there. They usually have more drink options at the Fall Fest, including alcoholic drinks and snowballs. They weren't there.
Nerd Brew is usually amongst the regular vendors. They're not in the
Right,
the
yeah,
food
yeah.
section.
Well, it was, from what I could tell of the food section, it was a couple of restaurant-y things, including like a brick oven pizza, and then local fundraiser, like, you know, the police around here do jambalaya, things like that. First responders
And
do jambalaya.
also the people who do the beignets and the people who do...
That's right, yeah, the beignet people were there. $10 beignet people were there.
Yeah, people who do the hot chocolate and stuff.
Were the people who do hot chocolate there?
They were, but they weren't serving hot chocolate.
Oh, that's fine. We're talking about food. So, like, at the garden show, there wasn't enough to keep you there for a whole day, necessarily, unless you're very into gardening and going to plant talks. But there was worth the $5 admission. We had a good time. And the weather actually rained on us, and we still went out and had a good time. Now, as
Briefly,
somebody who
it
sells
drizzled.
paper goods, that's not great. But I may not even be eligible to apply to that show for a few years, even though I have garden themed and plant themed art, just because I think they're trying to really focus on building up that.
Who knows?
So,
Maybe if you reach out, they'll consider you.
yeah, and maybe I should. I need to actually go ahead and book my space for the Fall Fest.
Yeah.
The NOLA, New Orleans Botanical Garden thing. I'm sorry. Names are hard for me. Everyone names something different. That is at the New Orleans Botanical Garden. We went last year, really enjoyed it, wanted to go back. I've been thinking about getting... It's a 2-day thing, even though Joseph swore up and down it was a 1-day thing.
Well, that's not
I'm gonna
entirely
explain
true.
in a
It's
minute.
a spring garden show at City Park.
Their website is not really clear that it's a 2-day show. You have to dig. In his defense, he did check, and that's kind of a tick mark against them. If you have a multi-day show, you really need to make it crystal that it is a multi-day show. Because my mom and brother were going to come with us, but because we switched the date thinking it was a 1-day show, they couldn't make it. So you will lose attendees if they don't realize they have multiple days that they could go.
So it got into my calendar as 2 days, but then when you were supposed to meet someone at the show, they assumed
right.
that you were going on Saturday. So I decided to second guess myself and check, because I was like, I don't even remember when I added this to the calendar. Maybe it's actually a 1-day show. And when I got to the listing, it just said Saturday. But in small print, it says, click to see other dates.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think they also have a something going on Friday, but I don't know that it's open to the public necessarily.
Sure.
So how much was it to get in? I think it's $10 a person for adults.
It was 15, I think. but
15 a
it might have
person?
been 10.
And
And they also had classes.
they do have classes, and they have competitions, like floral arranging competitions and a photography competition. Not an art.
And bonsai competition.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And the bonsai group was actually at the Destrehan thing as well. So if you want to talk to people, the Destrehan thing is great because there's fewer people there, so people really want to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at the New Orleans Botanical Garden, it was busy. Lots and lots of people were there.
With
People
lots of
all
wagons
ages.
and lots of strollers.
Big groups of people. Like, if you have a varied audience like I do, that could be a really good fit for you. In terms of vendors, while obviously there were lots of plant people there were also a lot of artists there, and as well as some like special interest groups. Like, we got to meet the Louisiana Rehabbers who do animal rehab, which obviously I'm very interested in that. And we also met the Louisiana Naturalist group. And who else did we meet? There was like one more cool people that we met. I'm
One
sorry.
more cool people. It's not coming to mind. They must not have been cool.
They were cool. Sorry, Bowie's right down there. So, obviously,
There's a lot of shelf stable food thing there.
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah. Well, also there were farm fresh produce as well.
and
Yeah,
stuff
which
like
I loved it. I loved the show. I am torn because I would like to try vending there, but I also really just like the show, and I don't want
I'm
every
sure
single
their
thing to be a work
booths
thing.
Are probably in the like $600 range. I haven't looked, but
I haven't,
it just
I haven't
seems like
dug
that
either.
kind of show.
Yeah, and then also because it's in New Orleans, we are about an hour out if you catch traffic, 30 minutes out if you have a straight shot, and that is kind of a ways to go for a show where you have to get up early, go be there all day,
Pack everything
up,
up. In the rain.
yeah, and then go do that again. It makes it kind of challenging. So if I either just did books or if I sold different stuff, that I could maybe leave overnight or packs down easier, that would be something I would be interested in doing. But I just like the show, and I like going, and I like having the freedom to talk to people, and I don't necessarily want everything to be a work thing.
Yeah.
So while I love it, it might be a show I choose not to sell at. So
you're going to do the old Luling Fete again?
Yes, I am.
You're not doing the church one?
No, not St. Gertrude's.
You're going to try to put in for the spring?
I would like to see if they would be, even if it was just me and like maybe a couple of other artists who do a lot of botanical art sharing, like if that was their thing, like we don't want non-garden specific people overwhelming the garden specific people. Oh, that was the thing about St. Gertrude's. They allowed MLMs, and there were a bunch of MLMs there, and I'm not gonna get super into it, but it's hard to compete for everybody, but it's hard to compete when you manufacture or design every single thing on your table and you're paying those margins. It can be hard to compete with like a Color Street rep who doesn't necessarily have the same kind. They do have overhead, but it's not the same kind of overhead. And we have just different timelines, and we have different prep. It can be hard to compete, and unless they're making something with that, like if you sold oils but you were making something specific with the oils, right, like floral arrangements or potpourri or something like that, I would feel differently about that. Sure. But if you're just selling the product, I feel like it's kind of unfair to have to compete against that as somebody who watercolors and makes comics and sorry, Bowie ate a lot of grass and now he's going to be sick about it. So I always have kind of mixed feelings when a show other than like a farmer's market allows MLM reps to be there, because it doesn't feel as much like a craft fair anymore.
It definitely gives a different feel to the show.
Watch the cat get sick.
It feels more like less like a curated market and more like the people running the show just want to extract as much money as possible.
Yeah. And like, I'll just be real blunt. Like, if it got to the point where I was like, there's a reason I left anime cons, right? So if I was doing a craft fair and it was all people selling anime fan art prints, that would not be a good fit for me either. So I'm not like trying to disparage anyone. I'm just talking about the kind of stuff I make and the kind of venues I do well in. And if you are in a similar situation to me, hopefully you can benefit from that. Now, I also want to disclose, like, we don't make the kind of money that a lot of craft fair vendors make for a variety of reasons. We don't necessarily sell the really big ticket items. I don't do necessarily like big acrylics that sell well in our area. Like, one of the things I see a lot is people doing the like really heavy impasto acrylic paint where you really see the chunky texture layers, and those are very popular around here. I don't do that. Or when I do Louisiana stuff, I do food and flora. And feelings. I don't really do like, oh, you know that building, oh, you know that streetcar. And those are things that sell well here too. So there are things that I'm choosing not to do so that I'm not doing the same thing everyone else is doing that I am missing out on money for. There's a lot of like big ticket items I could opt to do that I just don't want to do, doesn't appeal to me. And I also don't order on the scale, like in terms of like mugs or charms, that would also facilitate the high margin turnover items. So
to me, the biggest thing is all four of these shows are kind of on top of each other.
They sure are.
So
one weekend after the other.
Yeah,
that's a month of show.
The two questions of, firstly, are they the same people going to each of these shows? Which I think for the most part it's not. Maybe the New Orleans and the Destrehan one.
There was some overlap there, but
I'm not talking about vendors. I'm talking about audience.
Oh, I don't know. I know I saw some vendors the same, but sure. I don't know about audience.
And secondly, is it physically feasible for you to do basically 4 shows a weekend in a row?
Right.
That involves setting up a tent.
Right, and being in the weather, which is hard. Like, I was sick for the 2 days after the Luling Fete. And it's not their fault. It was the weather and sitting next to a guy smoking wood all day long and cigarettes. Like, I was just sick, had an allergic reaction to it. Now, I will say, he just parked there. Like, we did not consult about this. I don't know if the Luling Fete consulted with him. I know they wanted more food trucks. Yeah. And I hope they have more food trucks in the future, because that is an attention draw that's going to bring people in. But
So you kind of skirted both questions.
About is it worth it?
Do you think it's the same audience, and would it be feasible for you to even, if you wanted to do all four?
See, this
which
is
it
what
sounds
keeps
like you're
me
not.
from necessarily doing the farmer's market is, in order to make real money, you need repeat customers.
Mm-hmm.
And some of you guys are amazing and support almost everything I do, and thank you guys so much. But a lot of what I do doesn't really lend itself immediately to buying something new from me each week.
Sure.
I'm not like the sticker artist who can come up with a new sticker pack every week. I'm just not as fast as them, and I'm not using Procreate, you know? That's what seems to help facilitate the process. No shade to them. I see that and I'm envious. I'm like, oh man, I could crank out some stuff. You want to go in? Sorry. I'll show y'all Bo, and then I'll put him in. Video Bo with his wings. I mean, it's not like I sell things that are consumables, like food or candy or baked goods.
Yeah.
So I would, if I were going to do...
I mean, stickers are your most consumable product.
They are, yeah. But even that, if you're like me and you have a one or two things that you like to put stickers on, you're not buying stickers every week. You just don't want to. So, sorry, ADHD is great. Yes, no, right? Like, I think I could do 2 of those shows. Technically, I could if I had the stamina.
That's what I meant.
Do 3.
Yeah.
Because those are different markets. Okay. No, I don't have the stamina. I quit Anime Cons for a reason. They were killing me. No, I don't have the stamina. And that would be another incentive to like hire my mom or my brother to help me too, is that might give me the for some of the local ones like the Luling Fete, it might actually give me a chance to go home and rest for a while and not be like totally sick the next
especially
day.
During the slow hours of the show. And thanks to like Square, we do actually know when the slow hours of shows are.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I mean,
yeah.
theoretically.
So, are you asking for next year? I'm going to do the whole Luling Fete. Hopefully we have beautiful weather. And I'm probably going to try to see if I can do the garden show. And that's kind of a dicey one too, because while I do produce new things, like, okay, for example, I've been working on a larger commission that I was actually 2 larger commissions, and I was really excited about both of them. But both of them, just due to the nature of what they are, the 2 of them combined took me from February, and I am just finishing up the tail end of the second one today. And today is like, what, April 12th? Mm-hmm. So that was multiple months where I didn't really have a chance to work on anything else. So it becomes a catch-22, because for shows, you have to have new stuff. Like, you have to have new stuff for people to want to buy it. And if I don't have the time to make the new stuff, then I don't have the new stuff. So it becomes
just pump out a new coloring book. That took less than a month.
Yeah, because we had 4 years worth of beautiful line arts that we could collate into a curated coloring book, curated cottagecore coloring book, which you can get at netasup.com/shop. Yeah, so like I'm always doing the mental gymnastics of like, I want more paid, larger project. Like, I quit doing private commissions for the most part. I do still take a few if I really like the idea, or if I'm friends with the person, or just really want to do it. I'm working on still wrapping up the You as a Lilliputian commissions from the Kickstarter. Once those are done and sent, I may open that up as a more expensive tier. But I'm like done. My days of the convention commission are over. I'm done with that. I did my time. Did not build an audience from that.
That only really works at anime cons anyway, so.
Yeah. Well, I think it could maybe work with parents with their kids. Having like an elevated doesn't mean I necessarily
like
want to be doing it. Yeah.
Where?
And then you pick it up the next week.
Okay.
Doesn't mean I want to live that life of turnover unless I came up with a really cute, simple style that really worked well for that.
Yeah.
But just the turnover for that is so intense, and it kept me from pursuing other projects that I'm hesitant to get back into it. Yeah. So,
Old Luling Fete was good.
It was, yeah. I enjoyed it. Even though the weather was miserable, everyone was super nice. I really appreciated the curation.
It's a cause you believe in.
It's a cause I really believe in.
Rare for festivals.
Yeah, that's true. Being a former Luling girl myself, I want to see Luling revitalized. I mean, I only moved to the other side of the river. I'm in the same parish, you know? Like, I love it, but I love it from afar, slightly afar. But like, I teach kids from Luling. I want to help make Luling a place that people genuinely want to live and spend time and do things. And I think revitalizing Paul Mallard and having events like this make it a place that people want to live. So yeah, it is a cause that's dear to my heart. Now I know next year they're going to raise the price a bit, because $50 and they did
Plus
the
food.
tents
Yeah.
is
Oh,
way
yeah.
too good. They
Tents
covered
and
the
food.
tents, even
Yeah.
though I couldn't put
It
tent
was
walls on that tent.
Basically free for you, considering they put up the tents, loaned the
Yes,
tents, and
yes,
fed you,
yes.
and boozed you
If you wanted it,
theoretically,
yeah.
if you
If you booze, yeah, can't beat that. So even if they did $100, I would say yes. If they're still doing the tents.
You did donate books.
I did, but I didn't have. I only had to donate a one item.
Yeah.
I just wanted to donate for the raffle. I wanted to donate multiple books to make it a prize worth putting money in for.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'll probably be there next year. You know, health and life and pets permitting. And I'm really hoping for good weather next year, because I think we could knock it out of the park. Once it gets established, it won't matter what the weather's like.
Yeah.
People will show up.
Yeah.
It's getting it to that point. And also, and I probably should have brought this up a little bit earlier, they are going to need room to grow. I don't know what they're planning. Yeah, they need physical space.
Yeah.
To grow.
I mean, they might just partner with the hospital or something.
That would be cool. Yeah. I mean, like we just talked about, there's so many businesses that are currently sitting empty. Like there are places they could probably occupy for a show.
Yeah.
Right? It's just getting to that point. And they're not there yet, but I mean, with any show, like we did MTAC forever. MTAC way outgrew its shell long ago. And that was like the number one complaint, was like the artist alley's too small. They only have 26 spaces for artists. People felt like it was unfair, on and on and on and on and on. And so you do want to have a next venue in mind if you're starting out with a really small space.
Yep.
So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. If you came to see us at the Old Luling Fete, thank you so much. It really means a lot to us. We'll hopefully see you guys again. Thank you, Joseph, for joining me. He has a way better head for numbers than I do, so I appreciate the additional help. And hopefully you guys found this helpful, useful, and informative. I am doing another show in April. I am not going to do a recap for that, because, you know, it's not worth it. The show is a little show. It's just me kind of testing out the waters. But I'll do like a TikTok and a short for it. You know, like you'll see it. I'm just not going to talk about it. So if you're in the area and you want to come say hi, come say hi. If your kids are in my classes,
your mom.
You can. That's right. My mom's going to be helping me. So if Miss Denise taught you in 7th grade math, come say hi to Miss Denise. If your kids are in my classes, come bring them by. I'm happy to talk to them about what it takes to sell at shows and kind of walk them through the paces if they're interested in that. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye guys. Thank you, Joseph.